I hope that you have an impactful session here, and I would like to introduce you to this panel where we will be having insightful discussions with our experienced panelists in the field. Allow me first to introduce myself. I'm Roa, not Toby as you can see, and I will be moderating this session. And allow me to introduce as well our panelists, Steve, Sujoy, and Matt. I'll give them the floor to give a little brief and description about themselves.
Hi, I'm Steve. I'm the vision maker of Illuminate Studios, focusing on lighting, video, special effects from concept all the way through to delivery and operation.
I'm Sujoy Cherian, also known as the Technologist DXP, with my channel on tech in the industry, and I've been over 2 decades serving the Middle East and Asia with audiovisual special effects and immersive experiences.
Matt Richmond, over 25 years in the industry doing live events across the world, and I've been in region for the last 4 or 5 years managing a number of different projects and a team here.
Thank you. Now Matt, can you please share your approach to overcoming the technical challenges in organizing large-scale events in the Middle East, especially with the current boom that is happening here? And if you can elaborate about what are the stakes and expectations that are very high with the current projects.
Sure. So I think at scale here, the first thing that we learned very quickly was the mathematics and the engineering behind things. I think there's a lot of events that can happen with your gut and with a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And at the scale that we've been talking about doing, that we have actually been doing here in the region, the entire industry has been requires some mathematics behind it. And so we've put a great emphasis on engineering, a great emphasis on planning and working it out, and not ignoring the little things. I think there's a lot of people can do events and be like, that's a small thing, it won't really affect us. And we've seen at scale how those little things can grow quite bigly and have an adverse effect. And so we spend a lot of time detailing things out, doing the math, doing the engineering behind it.
Very insightful, thank you. And now, Steve, we all know the importance of integrating creative and technology, especially in an early process in every project. So I would like to ask you, how important is the harmony of connecting both together, and how do you support on that?
Yeah, I think for me it's completely crucial. You can put all the tech in the world you want into a space or an event, but if it doesn't fit with the creative vision, you're never going to be able to keep the creatives happy. So our approach is always, when creatives get involved, tech is already involved, or bring the creatives in early. When you all sit down at a round table at the very beginning of a project, work out what you want to deliver at the end, and then work backwards from that, as opposed to going, this is the tech, go and be creative, or this is the creative, there's the tech. It's always about the user experience. As far as we're concerned, at the end of the day, is what is the audience going to get out of it? How do they interact with it? What do we want them to go away with? So starting at the very beginning with the creatives and the technologists means that you put the right level of tech into the room, but also the resilience for it as well. So you can plan, as a technology expert, you can plan for what creatives want to do today, but you can almost guess what they're going to want to try and do once you get to site, because as we know, when we get to site, things change. So we had the resilience, we had the expectation of what they can bring, so that when they get to the table, you can go, yeah, we can deliver that. And the delivery is always then exceptional. Without doing that, you end up with a massive gap somewhere, whether it be creative or technical, you end up with a gap somewhere.
Great. Can you elaborate with a recent project, like as an example to the audience?
Yeah, I've got to be slightly delicate about it because, of course, nowadays we work under NDAs quite a lot, right? But I can. We did a project in this region, and it was, we wanted 3 big screens, 0 interaction, and that's all we really want. And then we got to site, and the creatives turned up and went, well, we want people to be able to interact with the walls. So yeah, but that wasn't the original scope. Luckily, we'd put media servers in place where we could expand on it quite easily. Knowing full well that working in immersive spaces like we do, I knew full well that at some point they're going to want to do some form of interaction. Adding extra lights in, because it's not just going to be a black box. They're going to want to do corporate events in there. So we'd added all this in at tech level. So luckily we only had to add the peripherals into the system, which bolted in nice and easily on the way that, away we went with the creatives and the client agreed. But because we hadn't sat down originally with the creatives, we didn't know what their creative vision was. We just had the scope from the client, and the two didn't align. But again, because of experience, we put ourselves in a pretty good place where we could pull ourselves out of it.
We love last minute things, don't we?
It's standard out here, right?
Okay, and now we know that advanced technology is booming and it's changing day by day. So Joy, my question is to you. How do you utilize the advanced technology to enhance both logistics and the audience experience in your project? And if you have an example for something that happened in the region.
Well, I'll first answer the part of the back end to enhance logistics in technology. I mean, it's been years. People have been moving from Excel sheets into softwares and into adaptation of platforms like Current RMS and several others that offer inventory management solutions. I think it all starts there, because if everything is not integrated into the system from the time it's into your stock and until it moves to the location and comes back, it doesn't make sense. Because I've seen this with a lot of people that invest in a lot of gear. They do an inventory management system just to log the inventory, but then when things go out, they come back, for example, with a problem. It's not put into quarantine. So softwares are in place today that we use, and I've been advising a lot of agencies as well. So right from the time you make the purchase, linking into the system not only the product but also its mandatory dependencies that have to go with a piece of product. Like for example, you wouldn't send a projector without a spare lamp, or you wouldn't send the cables that go along with it, or if there is a piece of equipment that needs to go with consumables, like a smoke machine has to go with this liquid. And this is a thing that is happening for years in the industry, where people send stuff and then there's vehicles going back to pick up consumables they've missed, cables they've missed, or in some cases take too much to site that's not required. So software in today's world allows us to take care of inventory right from its time of onboarding into the system to linking it to a process flow that allows you to control what's leaving the warehouse. You have additional hardware that now works through APIs and lets you even track through wireless systems. Like for example, Idelic is a new technology that does RFID at a very low cost through stickers that you can tag and have one flight case roll out through a passageway, and the system says, okay, those are the 20 things inside the box. You're not scanning the old school way. So that again improves efficiency in time. And then you have obviously on site, as soon as you have an issue, teams on site have mobile phones for which now we can scan and then identify a product as, okay, that was a panel that was replaced and it has to go into quarantine. Automatic notification to workshops saying that there's these products that have gone into quarantine, needs to be repaired or maintained before it goes out to the next show. So these are small things. There are a lot of things that come into play. You can also, using AI, define data points to pick up information on the current lamp life of projectors or the current burn of your LED panels. You could predefine when those panels go in for preventive care, so you can reduce the chances of damaging gear before it happens. Because if you watch the spike and you watch the exposure, for example, it's not always by the manufacturer at these many hours do a service. It depends on which environments they're operating, indoor, outdoor, what kind of weather. In this region, out in the summer sometimes. So those kind of preventive care can be embedded through data points that eventually gives information to an algorithm that gives notifications to say, okay, this gear needs to go in for maintenance or preventive care. So that's on the back end. There's lots more I can keep speaking, but we need to stick to time. So now I'll answer the second part of your question within events. Well, that's, I think in today's world, the major element, and like you mentioned, it's all about the end user experience. And data is the new gold. And it's all about how you process the data. We see a lot of events, people just scanning badges 10 times. You go out to the washroom, you get scanned, you come back in, you get scanned, you go out for a coffee, you get scanned, you come back in, you get scanned, and then the data says, oh, we had, 50,000 people today. So this kind of data now, even the end users start to understand, as in the organizers, and they want this information to be more accurate. So one of the things that are helping this change is using on-device Edge AI. This is going to be the next thing, I believe, that will be trending in our industry, because everybody's talking about data privacy, but nobody knows what is the infrastructure required to give that level of data privacy. And I think Edge AI will do that, because, and just to explain, Edge AI doesn't communicate to the cloud. It only communicates with your device that's with you. So you're controlling what information leaves your device. Just like an Apple ID, where you tap and pay, it's a new number that gets transacted. Nobody gets to know the entire credit card number. So the same thing, Edge AI works on the same logic, where your phone is your server, which is then giving out the information required to data collection points like events like these. So that's one thing I'm excited to see how it gets deployed in events to create end user experiences which are very unique for us to identify who are the people within the audience and how do you want to address them in a large event, especially in festivals where you want to create heat maps with command control centers, which are now becoming the next big demand. All big events like these are now investing in control centers which are giving live data as to where the heat is. For example, push notification to people to let them know that there are not enough bums on the seat here, and push crowd here. And that could be all automated based on the people that have identified their preferences through their registration, which means they're interested in tech, they're interested in live events, they should be at this session, right? So that kind of data analysis would then give the organizer better, insight as to how to improve next year's agenda and things. Like, for example, today, change in our session. All of this could have been, managed in a different way if there was applications that integrate speakers. So that's happening very soon. We're already seeing several reliable platforms. And last but not the least, one of the things I'd like to talk about is the integration of AI on the front end. It's being rapidly adopted within this region as virtual hosts, virtual moderators, with data that's built into the system that adds filters and features that allows you to restrict topics that is culturally wrong or religiously incorrect. So it's topic-specific AI embedded into avatars, which changes the game when it comes to interaction for the end user. So those are 2 points I'd like to make.
Wow, love that. Very insightful. Thank you. Or we could tell them to lower the music as well if we had the technology. Okay. So I would like now to engage everyone, and I know that each one of you is going to have a different answer, which would be very insightful to the audience we have. So what are some common misconceptions that we currently have about technology and creativity interacting in event production? I would like to start with Matt, please.
I think there's a misconception that technology prevents creativity or hinders creativity, and I really don't think that's true. I think that technology, sure, it can enable creativity, but I think what it really does is it opens doors for creativity. And so to have that conception out there that, oh, I can't do that because the tech is not there, or it's too expensive, or it's, you need too much equipment, so on and so forth. I think that's a misconception that can be turned up on its head, and the technology can actually open the doors that then open more creative conversations, and that leads to even more creativity.
Interesting. What about you, Steve?
I fully agree with that, actually. It's crazy how people think that you haven't got the right tech so you can't be creative. That's then down to the creative to take the technology that they've got to turn it on its head and change their mindset. And the greatest creators out there, I was lucky enough to work with Frank Rosagrone years ago, and he would do exactly that. He'd expect something, it didn't work, and he'd just change his mind and start doing something else that the tech could do. For me, the biggest misconception is time. Everybody thinks that as soon as the tech is installed, you can start a show. And creatives sit there and go, when it's ready, we need to go. That doesn't necessarily work in that way. Once the tech's installed, we've then got to get the systems working and ready and fully functional to be able to spend the time to be with the creatives. And also, as I pointed out earlier, bringing the creatives in earlier, the misconception there is we install the tech, then we bring creatives, and that's when creation starts. And it's backwards. Creation should start right at the very beginning of the project, so that it is harmonious. So the technical team and the creative team are always talking together. They don't have to be in the same room or even in the same continent. We do work with people in America constantly, and where they're giving us a creative input, and we'll take that, translate it into technical, and push it back out the door. But the conception of time for me is a big thing. You always need more time. There's never enough, and the sooner you can start creative and technically working together, the sooner and the better you're going to produce that world-class show that you expect your audience to be able to see, rather than just something that is okay.
Thank you. I'd like to hear your insights as well, please.
Yeah, I definitely echo what he said. Creative comes obviously at the forefront of the approach towards innovative designs. But having said that, when I keep getting this question often, I said you need to ask yourself, are you creating from scratch, or are you entering a venue that has predefined kit? So that's the only time when you're entering a venue and there's already, you're in a theater which has gear, then you need to go the other way around. Then it's the tech that's there, what can I do to maximize utilization of this tech, and then add in a few things to create my storyline. But yes, otherwise, if you're creating, it's first the creatives, and definitely at every stage of your storyboarding, in fact, even before storyboarding, in your mood boarding, you start to check, do I have the tech or access to the tech in the region wherever you are, and does this tech fit into the feasibility of my overall budget, and then push the limits on using that tech in its full capacity. So I see a lot of requests that come in and RFPs that come in for audience sizes of 1,000 people. The front of the audience is 20 meters away from the screen, and then the RFP says P2 or less. For what? Why do you need that definition on the screen if you're sitting 20 meters away? So things like that, people just go with the norm and say no. The higher the pitch, the better the quality. You're just asking for more trouble. That's more difficult to change the pixels on the damaged panels. So things like that. So that knowledge is again a very fundamental aspect of the design process. Earlier, designers worked separately, and then there were the tech companies that came in to say, okay, how am I going to make this dream come to life? But now it's not that way anymore, because the integration of tech at the design stage is so vital. And then pushing your limits and understanding what is it that I could do with this technology to enhance the show, rather than having 10 different things and it's just a jamboree of everything. So I think limit the amount of tech, simplify the number of steps in the design, and make sure the end user experience is with a focus that it's not just a passive content consumption solution, it's more active content consumption. That's when you've succeeded and given life beyond that event, where people are taking back something with them.
Thank you. I definitely agree with each one of them. And moving forward with this, we need to know how to meet the client expectations and the demands that we have in the market with both creative and technology. So my question is to you, how as State we manage to meet the client expectations using both technology and integrating creativity with it?
So we like to actually turn that upside down and not start with what is your expectation, but what is your goal. I think a lot of people have an expectation. They've seen something before, or they've dreamt something the night before, and now it's in their head. And those are often expectations. But what we like to say is, okay, well, what is your goal? What is it that you're trying to accomplish at the end? Let us then work with you on a strategic way to achieve that goal, and how we're going to achieve that goal that then satisfies what you need to do, and then step back and look at it and say, does that still not meet your expectation? And if not, then let's talk through about where there's a gap to get there. But I think maybe a little bit to your point about 20 meters away and what's the right tool for the right job is not always does the expectation meet what the goal is. And I think you sometimes have this problem where you build to what the expectation is, and then at the end of the day they're like, well, I didn't hit any of my KPIs. And so if we can, we try our very hardest to dig to the root, get the goal, work on a strategy, develop that strategy into a plan, present that plan. And there's been very, very few times where that hasn't, come to fruition in the way that the client is happy.
Amazing. Now, Steve, I want to ask you, do you think we currently have a gap in the market? And if we do, how can we educate the future generations to avoid falling in that?
It's a really good question. I think, the kingdom is so new. I don't want to say junior, that's not fair, but so new into this entertainment market, and they're going out there with giga projects. There's nobody out here that's playing around. They're going and they're going hard, and it's phenomenal to watch. The gap for me boils back to the answer to my last question, which is time. There isn't enough time taken to really consider the whole scope of the projects and to make sure you're delivering to the right level. We see it globally where construction is delayed. The big one being in the UK recently with their the Co-op Arena, where they've cancelled global artists because the construction wasn't ready. That then has a massive knock-on effect with technical and creative, and we see it globally. So for me, the gap in the market is time, and the way to fill it is to look properly at pre-production. So going back in, we have all the tools now where we can go and pre-visualize, we can build the shows out, we can build the LED screens and all the lights, build the queue stacks, plan the networking systems, even down to show control can be created remotely and then deployed. And I think providing the clients and the construction industry see the value there that is brought, it means that your projects will get delivered to a world-class standard. As an example, you're 3 weeks late for delivery of the venue, but you still want to open on time. So me technically have just lost 3 weeks. Creatively, we've lost maybe 4 to 5 to 6 weeks because we haven't been able to start on time. So your creative value has to go down. The creatives go back to the beginning and go, how do we make this quicker and easier? We have to do the same technically, so we're not delivering the project because we're not forcing the opening of the show or the venue to be pushed, and that's acceptable. But if we'd have looked at that 6 weeks ago and gone, we're not going to open, or 12 weeks ago, we're not going to open on time because of the construction delays, let us go and do pre-production. And then we arrived to site technically and with the creatives, and we've sat in rooms and we've designed it, and then it's tweaking. So we've got the show ready to go. We go in and make sure that all of our cues are in the right place, which takes a couple of days to get us to that point. And then we can be even more creative. It gives us the time to still develop and deliver based on on-site conditions. Because again, we all know on-site is never the same as what it is in digital. We're close, but we're never perfect. And that then drives the show, the performance, the attraction, whatever it may be. It pushes the envelope of where we can go with the creative team, using the technology and the technologists that we've got. That for me is crucial. How do we learn? We've all been doing this. I mean, flipping heck, I look at us on stage, and we've been over 50 years between the three of us in this industry and in entertainment. The value is teaching at the right level at the very beginning. This is things that should be taught at university level, or with people coming out with us and we're based out of Dubai, and I've constantly got somebody from one of the universities out shadowing me, or one of my team, just learning and absorbing the knowledge that isn't just academic. It's real life. We show them that, and they'll constantly say, "Steve, this isn't right." I know it's not right, but we've got what we've got, right? We have what we've got to play with, and that's what we've got to drive. And our goal isn't to sit and complain about what could have been. It's how can we change it in the future, and how can you, as the new kids on the block, change it in the future, so that we look back on it and go, we were all properly stupid when we did that. Why aren't we doing it like this nowadays?
I would just like to add that a picture is worth 1,000 words, and I think mentorship is worth 1,000 textbooks.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Thank you. And elaborating further to your point, here in the region, and especially in Saudi, we can see giga projects happening that are booming, and as you said, they keep increasing. Now, I want to ask you, Sujoy, with the large, unprecedented giga projects that are happening here, how using the advanced technology can manage fixing solutions, especially in the last minute things that could happen.
Well, yeah, the last minute thing is a thing I've been trying to change here for over a decade. Very unsuccessful.
Are we going to change it?
You know, so now I have in fact we have a training in our organization that happens, and that topic is how to handle the last minute syndrome, you know, of the region. So because there'll always be another agency. If you say no, sorry, you've cut your deadline and we're not going to do the job anymore, there's an agency who will pick it up right the next day. It's happened during the expo, it happened during major events where we pulled out and we said, the design is yours, do it if you can. And then we go the next day and someone else has done it. So we have to work around the demands of the region, because we as an agent, as an industry, if agencies don't start to change and put the foot down and say designs and creatives come at a cost, delayed timelines with added manpower and added hours of working come at a cost, it's never going to change. So in the meantime, what we've started to do is adapt to these changes and start to use technologies that give us the flexibility of real-time changes. For example, we started deploying everything through Ventus, which is a real-time 3D platform that allows us to make changes on super large format canvases in real time to a great extent when it comes to change of numbers and graphics. So we do layered content. Now the other thing we've been facing was with large format content that is all 3D rendered, and then there's a minor change. So we've started to do everything now in Unreal Engine. So it gives us the flexibility of changing perspectives and angles on a massive canvas of 12K, 16K, and then you want to change angles. The pre-production is of course a lot more complicated, but then on location when you get these last-minute changes, and then you've got everyone else waiting, because the video guy is the one who suffers then, waiting for that change, and then there's lighting waiting to make those tweaks, and then everybody is doing the whole night, the graveyard shift as we call it, waiting for that little change to happen. So I think taking into consideration the tech that's there available today, using gaming engines and the power of Unreal Engine as well as Unity, depending on the kind of deployment, it gives you the flexibility of having a fair amount of time saved when you're doing the changes on location. So you could run the right hardware and the right backend, which gives you the flexibility of quickly making those tweaks and moving on with the time code on your show. Has been a game changer for us at least. And I think last but not the least, as message to like we're talking about the current generation, I think they have to get involved a lot in understanding these technologies, because it's not like before. It's not just audio, video, light, and that's it. Everything is now integrated. Everything has to be, running on APIs that are communicating to each other, or hardwares that. So the technical knowledge is so important for agencies today, not just AV companies, and also making sure that the new generation are brought into the system of understanding how to troubleshoot and make these changes, and not that just one technical guy who's, kind of the only support team that's running around fixing things. So, yeah, that's my point of view.
Thank you. And honestly, listening to professional people who are experienced in the fields like yourselves, I would like to ask you to give what advice can you give to the future generations that are willing to both integrate creativity and technology, especially in event production? I'd like to hear your thoughts, all three of you, please. I'd like to start with you, Steve.
I hate going first. For me, it's learn everything. Don't sit and go into university, or even it doesn't matter what age you are. If you're getting into the industry, learn absolutely everything you can. Don't decide you're going to specify, go into one field. I was the best thing I was ever taught when I got in the industry was learn everything, and then look at specialising. And it gives you the ability to understand everybody else's problems. When we get to site, I'll understand set, we understand rigging, we understand sound, and all the problems that they face, which means that we might have a solution to be able to help, or at least speed up their fault finding or jump in and assist. On the bigger gigger projects, it happens less, but on the general day-to-day, you go in as one team, and if you have a little bit of knowledge about everything, you'll always be the smartest person in the room because you'll be able to assist and help. I know a lot of universities try to just specialise you immediately, and I've been working with Sharjah Performing Arts Academy for a few years, and in their first year now they do everything. So you do a little bit of tech, you'll do a little bit of dance, you'll do a little bit of art and creation, and a little bit of working behind the scenes, and it gives you the understanding of what everybody else faces and the constraints that they've got, but also the time pressure or the personal pressure that you carry mentally and physically. That would always be my advice. Just soak it up like a sponge, and then look at where you want to specialise and what you enjoy doing the most.
Agreed. What about you, Sajid?
Yeah, I think one of the critical things to understand in our industry, when we see an experienced veteran from the industry, what are his core skills? It's the experience to troubleshoot. We have a lot of people in the industry. We only identify the top freelancers or the top agencies as their experience to identify a problem before it happens. Preventing the issue. Your experience in risk assessment, because crisis management is okay, but the crisis has happened. So I don't look at crisis management as a skill. It's the risk assessment that has to come as a skill. And that goes down to every genre in the industry, right? Audiovisual, special effects, theater, weddings, whatever it is. If you don't have the skills for risk assessment, you're never going to be able to succeed, because one failure in our industry can ruin your reputation, whatever you built in the last decade. Right? So identifying risk is so important, because the other most important thing, parallelly with your reputation, is the risk of life. Because if you're not thoroughly experienced and you do things which put lives in danger, that's the worst thing you're doing in the industry. And this will only come, like he said, when you put your hand and your time into every aspect of the industry. So even when I teach at EMDI and SAE and all the other students, they always say, which is the best line to get into, which one would earn me the max? I said, if that's your target, it's never going to happen. Right? You have to go into smaller agencies so that you have the experience of looking into every aspect of the event. Even if you want to specialize in a field, you have to be out there like a cadet, just like the major industries. Why does the military have always a cadet first, or the Navy has a cadet first? You can't just go and say, okay, I'm the most educated, I want to be a captain now. It doesn't happen, right? Same thing in every industry. I think the same process. You have to be at ground level, you have to be on the field. And I tell graduates or people who step into event management schools or AV institutions like SAE, don't look at internships as, okay, I've got this gig, I'm going and assisting this guy at this concert. I see them going there, then scanning badges or doing cables, and they don't learn much. You're doing internships, get involved in the entire process from the design stage right to the execution. That's an internship. So always put your time in there and stop asking for work-life balance. That doesn't exist in our industry. That's a fad. You start balancing things after you've done 20 years, which is equivalent to 40, because you do 16 hours a day while others are doing 8. So when you finish 10 years, you actually got 20 years of experience. So stop expecting that. So those who want a work-life balance, go to a bank. Join the government as an event manager. But don't think this happens, right? And jokes apart, it's the way the industry is. It's about last-minute demands. It's about last-minute changes. The agencies that succeed and the AV companies that succeed, who adopt to change and who are available, to do things, especially in this region. And that's not going to change. So it's us that have to change and keep the new generation ready for the reality. And good luck to all those who are entering the industry, because this is a very potential market, and I think amazing things can happen here, just like it was 22 years ago when I reached Dubai and I saw the opening of Dubai Shopping Festival in Media City that didn't exist. And that's when I changed my mind. I said I need to change base and stop assisting my father manufacturing audio systems, and left the manufacturing world and came into event design, and I think that was the greatest decision I took, and that opportunity has reopened here in Saudi, and I think we need to capitalize on the opportunity and choose your field and get into it.
Thank you so much. What are your thoughts about that, Matt?
I'm looking forward to that work-life balance now. 20 years in the industry. It's great. It's fantastic. It's coming up soon. And you're right, Steve. Going last is better. You get a chance to think about it. This is 100% true. I think for me it boils down to three things for young individuals who are in the industry. The first is talk to a million people. Talk to a lot of people, listen to a lot of people, absorb, take it in, converse. And I wouldn't say that so much from a networking standpoint to try to make relationships or go somewhere, as much as I would just say be a sponge and take in knowledge and talk to a lot of people and take that knowledge in. And a lot of, to Steve's point, different people in different aspects of it and different skill sets and different areas of it, and try to understand it all. And there's never a point where too much knowledge is too much. It just, you can never have enough knowledge. And so talk to people, talk to as many people as you possibly can, and absorb that information. The second is going to be attitude and ethic. To your point, I think if you have an attitude of 3 to 4 hours a day's worth of work, then this is not the industry to be in. But in all honesty, this is an industry that isn't straightforward. You know, it is not a bank where you have 4 or 5 tasks, and when someone comes in, those are one of those tasks that you do. This is an industry that has a million things go wrong every day, every minute. And you have to be able to problem solve those, and you have to be able to work through those. It's an exciting industry. It's a fun industry. And there's a lot of rewards for being able to solve those problems. And being able to be, put smiles on people's faces, because that's what we do at the end of the day, right? I mean, we're in live entertainment. The goal is to have someone enjoy what you have done and walk away with a smile on their face, and that can bring great joy and great professional satisfaction. And so, the right attitude to be able to go into the day and be like, that is going to be terrible, and we're going to get to the other side of that, and we're going to get together to the other side of it as a team or as a collective, or with some new inspiration and some new ideas. That's the fun part of it, and you should embrace that fun. And yeah, it's going to be tough sometimes, but that's at the end of the day, there's great accomplishment and great satisfaction in that accomplishment. Yeah, that's what I would give advice to young people, and I really do think. Read your textbooks. You have to, apparently. That's the way you're graded sometimes. But the mentorship. Find individuals that you respect. Find individuals that you see operating in a way that you want to operate and have an attitude that you want to have going forward. And learn from them and get as much mentorship as you can going through. And don't just blindly follow them. Take it with a grain of salt. Hey, yeah, okay, they do it that way. Cool. Maybe that's not the way I want to do it. Maybe there's a different way that I see that it should get done. And so that to mentorship isn't just to say, well, I'm going to do 1 through 100 the way they did it. It's to understand how they did it, understand what's going on, and then make your own path based on that. And I think that's really important. And I think that's how an industry of individuals will grow and advance and change for the better.
It's a fun industry indeed. Thank you so much.
Just to follow up off the back of that, mentorship I totally agree with. I love it when the mentees talk back to me and question it and go, well, that's a great way of doing it, but what if we did it this way? And it's a great way for me to, 20 years in the industry, I'm constantly learning, and I've always said the day that I stop learning will be the day that I leave the industry. And it boils back to these junior people thinking in a very different mindset, because they haven't had the struggles of the lack of technology that we've had for producing shows for all of these years. They've got access to all the new and the best and the brightest. So we can learn a lot from them as well. So I think it's very much a bi-directional thing nowadays in our industry when it comes to mentorship, which is not necessarily the same in every industry, but I think for ours, there's a lot that we can learn as well, because it keeps our egos down, which is always really nice, because it's an industry full of ego, right? So when we can be humbled by the people that we're trying to help and they're teaching us back, I think that's really, really important.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, I've probably learned more from those who are younger than me than I have from those who are older than me, honestly, at the end of the day. And yeah, that's wonderful.
Honestly, talking about learnings, allow me to end this session with thanking you, 3 of you. I've learned a lot from your discussions, and I'm sure that the audience learned that too. I would like to give the audience 5 minutes for Q&As. For anyone, please. Who would like to go first?
Got one question down here. Okay. Oh, that was very loud. In my own ears. What are you guys most excited about looking forward into 2024 even? What excites you about the industry?
I'll leave that with you. You can start with that one, Matt.
Oh, thanks. I'm looking for that work-life balance. I hear that's coming. I'm really excited about that. Look, here in Saudi, what am I most excited about is that I truly officially believe that there's nowhere else in the world doing and have the appetite for scale and creativity and new things to happen in the entertainment industry as it is here. And to be here and to be working here and to be seeing this desire to have an industry build something that is not being built anywhere else, and to do shows and to do events and do things that are not being done anywhere else and at a different scale, that's really exciting. And you know, you go back to Europe, you go back to America, you go back to the East, and it's just not there like it is here. And it's really exciting for me.
You want to go next, Steve?
Sure. Second's better than first, right? For me, it's what's coming next. What is the kingdom about to launch that nobody else knows about? We all know that it's not going to be delivered for a few years, but it's, you know, what's that brainchild somewhere thought about that they want to drop this year? Last year, the year before that, we've seen some very, very interesting and promising projects that have come to the table and been delivered. It's what does Saudi do next? And I think that's really exciting. Looking at it for the last 5-6 years, every year they've brought something that everybody around the world's gone, wow, we didn't see that coming. What is it this year? I genuinely don't know, but I'm excited to see what it is.
Can you please?
Yeah, well, I did mention one part of it though. Edge AI is what I'm looking forward to, getting embedded into our industry, and that's definitely going to be a game changer, I feel, this year on several deployments that even we are working on. Two is, again, like you said, the appetite in this region is amazing, and in the last few days I've been having a lot of sessions with government entities and ministries, and what they've got envisioned for the next few years, and with the Vision 2030 alignment, I think there's some phenomenal potential of creating unique IPs in this industry here. I see a lot of international IPs coming here, but I think now it's time to start seeing IPs being created from scratch out of Saudi itself. And I'm working with quite a few parallelly at the moment, which I see this vision that they have of not just copying concepts from around the world that have been successful, but also creating these really new, unique niche market topics that have not been addressed in the region, and those are the opportunities that you'll start to see surfacing this year. And then last but not the least, I'm seeing a lot of tech companies, and that's including us, bringing in a lot of new tech into this industry rather than stocking it in Dubai and then sending it around town. We're seeing a lot more demand here. So we are moving a lot of our holograms, a lot of our interactive, a lot of our AI avatars to be in this region with some very interesting projects that I can't talk about right now, which are going to be announced soon. And yeah, I think this is the place to be.
Thank you. We have time for one more question. Anyone would like to ask?
I think we've got a question here in the second row.
Hi, that is loud. Sujay, you just mentioned AI, and there is no doubt that AI is no longer the future. It is our present. How are you all incorporating AI into the experiences you offer?
Okay, so AI, what you're seeing on the front end is obviously in today's world, linking up to OpenAI and sources that you see in public, right? With digital avatars which are responding in real time, or filtered information. Well, there's a lot more beyond that. Again, the world's first Arabic AI is being developed by Abu Dhabi government, and that's called Noor AI, Noor.ai, NOR.ai. You can check that out. It's already live. It's the world's first Arabic-enabled AI, which will be a big advancement again for this region. There are several other industries that are working parallel in developing their own LLMs. So this would not only be deployed now in gamified experiences at events, it will be used in many ways for the language barriers that we face in the Middle East, because the East and the West come here for events, and then there's always this multicultural environments which will help us have real-time support, not just by language but also on several modes of communication. Other than that, AI will be used on the back end for data processing in a very big way in command and control centers that are monitoring events like these, which would be again a game changer over time as we adopt into using it. We are at a very early stage of AI adoption in the industry. While the AI world is already talking about predictions of the next 5 years reaching AGI. We are right now setting up our gear at the AI for Good Congress, which is going to be an event in Switzerland. That event is completely focused on AI governance, security, and policies that nations need to consider following in streamlining the use of AI and the dark web and everything else that has been happening, because there's always pros and cons of every industrial revolution right now, and we are in that revolution, the change, and AI is here to stay. It's only going to get better and smarter. So that's my point of view on AI.
Go ahead.
Definitely in command and control of events, definitely in data processing, definitely in being able to foreshadow stuff that our small human brains cannot. There's so much data, which is great these days when doing events in a command center, and having AI be able to help us take that data in, see where that's going, see what those trends are, and put back into our hands. Not only what the data is telling us, but solutions as well. It's great.
And for me, it's using it creatively, looking at how we can speed up getting stuff to market. How can we create quicker? How can we have AI program our shows quicker based on our interaction with it? It's never ever going to be as good as a human being, don't get me wrong.
100%.
It's not taking our jobs. And I can say that for a fact, because on Monday I had a client that said to me, Steve, it's great, but I want more. And if you'd said AI, I want more, it's just going to go, what does that mean? But we can then creatively take it. So I don't think it's ever going to beat us, but I think it can help us to get there quicker. And the approach of using AI to speed up that timeline and the workflow is phenomenal from a tech and creative point of view.
Thank you, Steve, Sujoy, and Matt. And special thanks to our audience. Looking forward to what's coming next.
Thank you.
Right, thank you. Thanks for having us.